You ain't gonna see me excoriating him. You ain't gonna see me disrespecting him. You're not gonna see me stripping him of my support. I can tell you what I think you right and you wrong about.
Shannon Sharpe just cut off all contact with Stephen A. Smith, and it's not looking like he's ever picking up that phone again. Word is, Shannon straight up ghosting Stephen after the man couldn't keep his mouth shut about Shannon's messy legal situation. And here's where it gets spicy.
We all have friends that found themselves in various predicaments throughout our life. And you can look at somebody, and even if you take issue with their choices and what they've done, you can still sit up there and look at them and say they're a friend.
Because Stephen A., he didn't stand with Shannon Sharpe like he stood with Jay-Z. When he heard about Jay-Z, he said, the guy I know, this is not true. When it came to Shannon, he was like, I wasn't there.
But date your age. Well, I want to date my wage. I'm finna shut all this ish down tonight.
The whole thing with Shannon Sharpe is actually crazy, because how are you even entertaining the conversation after put a big black baby in me? Put a big black baby in me? It's honestly giving that you just have like some sort of racist fetish. Like, you know how when people get with different races and they just play, you know, slave and owner. That's what it's giving when I was reading those text messages. Because what you mean 25,000 a cheek?
When the lawsuit first dropped, Stephen A. didn't waste a second before throwing shade. Real slick with it too. He didn't name names, but everybody knew who he was aiming at. He was already talking like Shannon's days at ESPN were numbered before any kind of official word even came out. That had fans raising their eyebrows like, why is he speaking like Shannon's already done? It felt shady, like he knew something, or worse, was hoping for it. Then suddenly, just a few days later, Stephen A. switched it up like nothing happened. Now he's out here saying he believes Shannon's innocent. For real? After all that backdoor chatter? Please, fans aren't buying it at all. And guess what? Neither is Shannon. Word on the street is he's completely cut Stephen off. Won't take his calls, won't text him back. Cold shoulder, ice cold. Even some celebs and sports personalities are chiming in now. May straight up called Stephen A. flip-flopper and a snake for trying to play both sides now that the heat's turning up. The streets are saying Stephen switched sides to protect his own image now that Shannon might actually come out clean. So, is this really the end of the Shannon and Stephen A. ESPN brotherhood? What made Stephen flip like that? Was it jealousy, self-preservation, or something deeper? Let's get into it. So, it's official. Shannon Sharpe didn't just cut Stephen A. Smith off on camera, he's done with him off camera too. And this fallout is way deeper than it looks. Insiders are saying Shannon feels seriously betrayed after Stephen A. publicly switched sides while Shannon was in the middle of one of the biggest storms of his life. As you've probably heard, Shannon's being sued by an OnlyFans model he allegedly messed with briefly when she was just 19. The whole situation has stirred up controversy, and Stephen A. did not help one bit.
It's a sad situation. Shannon Sharpe is somebody I work with a couple of days a week. Shannon Sharpe is somebody that I brought to ESPN. To be clear, even though this podcast, this YouTube show is owned and operated by me solely, it doesn't mean that I'm going to be dismissive of ESPN, who employs me in my daytime job on First Take. So I sit here before you today letting you know that they are aware that this is a subject that I was going to broach, because I owe them that courtesy. I am the executive producer of First Take on ESPN. I recruited Shannon. I went and got him and brought him to ESPN. But I'm not the boss. Those are other folks. There are layers to this, and there are certain layers even I am not on. I can tell you, I also spoke as co-chairman of Disney, the boss, Jimmy Pitaro, who made it very, very clear We are taking this matter very seriously. And we are looking into this very, very closely. In my perfect world, he moves on. And somehow, some way, we find this all to be false. But it doesn't seem like that's the way things are about to go down, considering who Mr. Busby is and how emphatic his client is proclaiming that she is right and she's telling the truth. I have no idea what direction ESPN and Walt Disney will go in when it comes to this matter. All I do know is it won't be me making a decision. It'll be others upstairs. In the end, all of us have someone to answer to. No matter how maverick we try to be, and we own our own business, and we're our sole proprietors like I am on this platform and stuff like that. There are advertisers, there are sponsors, there are people you do business with, there are partners, and there are bosses. That's the situation, unfortunately, that Shannon Sharpe finds himself in.
But Steven didn't stop there.
Last week, Steven was out here tossing shade like it was nothing. He even hinted that Disney and ESPN were about to cut ties with Shannon before any official word dropped. Fans were confused, like, why is he talking like Shannon's already out the door? That's when things really started to unravel. Sources close to Shannon say this was the final straw. And here's the kicker. This wasn't the first time Shannon felt something was off. Word is, he's felt for a while that Stephen A. was low-key jealous, especially after Shannon's podcast club Shay Shay blew up with viral interviews like the Cat Williams episode. Shannon's success outside of ESPN was undeniable. And allegedly, Stephen's whole vibe shifted once Shannon started shining on his own. Now with Stephen A. suddenly backtracking, trying to act like he's on Shannon's side, Shannon's not buying none of it. He's apparently refusing to return any calls and is telling folks he's done with Stephen A. for good.
This three-time Super Bowl champion and this Hall of Famer, who emphatically stated to me over the phone how innocent he is of these allegations that have been levied against him, insisting repeatedly that anything you read, anything you see, anything you hear was fully and totally consensual. In the same breath, what's inescapable is that without us knowing all the merits, he was working with Disney, where I've worked since 2003, excluding my departure from 2009 to 2011, when I was gone for those 2 years. Outside of that, I've been at Disney since October of 2003. I know this place. I know the worldwide leader that is ESPN, who's under the umbrella of Disney. And it wasn't difficult for me to figure out what was transpiring. They didn't need any definitive evidence at this particular moment in time about all of that stuff. Once all the things Shannon Sharpe's lawyer put out there, it was uncomfortable to listen to. And it was not something that Walt Disney wants associated with its brand. So to have him on the airwaves while all of that stuff was put out there was not something that Disney was going to do. That is what I mean when I say I am not surprised.
Just for context, Steven was one of the first people to speak on Shannon's legal drama. And sure, he said he felt bad, but the way he phrased it, it came off like Shannon's career was already dead in the water. No wonder Shannon hit the block button. But Stephen A. didn't just stop at throwing one jab, he kept going. Right after the news broke that Shannon was stepping away from ESPN, Steven hopped on his show again and started talking slick. He brought up how Disney's all about image control and how, once they see you as a problem, it's a wrap. No comeback, no second chances. And instead of showing real support, Steven decided to take another shot. He shaded Shannon for being reckless at his age. Like, really? He painted this picture of Shannon acting like he's untouchable while subtly patting himself on the back, basically saying, that could never be me. The arrogance was loud.
Basically bragging about how he's too smart to let something like this happen to him.
A lot of people want to walk around thinking you can do what you want to do when you want to do it. You can your own operation. You don't have to answer to anybody. That's not true. I've had people open their mouth and they've said, Stephen A., you work for ESPN. What kind of control do you really have? This is my podcast. This is my YouTube show. I own this. But if you think for 1 second that I could just do what I want to do, when I want to do it, how I want to do it, and there's not going to be any repercussions, you're clueless. And you're destined to fail and fall on your face. Some people sit up there and they look at me and they say, Stephen A. don't get himself in this kind of trouble. How does he pull it off? Well, first of all, there's certain behaviors and proclivities that you never have to worry about me engaging in. But most importantly than that, I often say this about Walt Disney. I'd rather work for a place with standards than one looking for them.
But here's where the drama goes full tilt. After fans started dragging Stephen for being fake and celebs like Maze straight up called him out for switching sides, Stephen tried to clean it up. He suddenly flipped his narrative and started defending Shannon, saying he now believes he's innocent. Oh, now he believes him? Social media wasn't buying it, and people quickly started pointing out the double standard. When Jay-Z got hit with serious allegations tied to one of Diddy's accusers, Stephen A. had no hesitation. He jumped on camera and defended Jay like his entire reputation was on the line. But when it came to Shannon, silence at first, followed by judgment, then backpedaling, and people noticed. Even Mace brought the receipts, calling Stephen out on his podcast. He said it was wild how Stephen A. rushed to defend Jay-Z, even though Shannon didn't have the full details on Jay's case either. But Shannon still stayed quiet and respectful. Meanwhile, Stephen A. was out here throwing Shannon to the wolves. Now the streets are saying, that ain't loyalty. That's just self-preservation. Now here's where it gets really wild. Right after Mace's comments lit up the internet, Stephen A. did a full 180. Out of nowhere, he's suddenly playing Captain Loyalty, calling out others for turning their backs on Shannon, the same Shannon he was just shading days ago. Stephen went on Big Boy's show and brought up Shannon's situation again, but this time he switched lanes completely. He said it looks like Shannon's being set up and even threw in a comment about folks being jealous ever since Shannon's podcast went viral, especially after that explosive Cat Williams interview. But fans, they are not trying to hear it, because let's keep it real, Stephen A. has been the biggest flip-flopper in this whole messy saga. 1 minute he's warning ESPN might drop Shannon, next minute he's out here defending him like they've been besties all along. It's giving fake.
Jay-Z and Sean Diddy Combs, a 13-year-old girl more than 20 years ago, after an award show after party. I am not going to sit here and dismiss or excoriate Mr. Busby or his client, who's anonymous at this particular moment in time, and the allegations that she has leveled against Jay-Z. I'm telling you, I've known this man for 25 years. And I'm saying, for me, Stephen A. Smith, there is no way in hell I believe this about him. Anybody that's been around Jay-Z and knows him has seen him come to the defense of the most helpless amongst us, which are the children. I can't believe for 1 second that he would ever be associated with an allegation like this. And I felt it was important to bring that up because you got people out there. Stephen A., you have something to say about Diddy. Why aren't you going to have something to say about Jay-Z? Well, I don't know Diddy.
People online aren't letting it slide either. They're calling him out, saying the only reason Stephen is suddenly switching sides is because Maze dragged him for being the first one to publicly throw Shannon under the bus. And they're not wrong. Stephen dropped a whole video about Shannon before Shannon even confirmed he was leaving ESPN. That's not support, that's premature shade. One fan put it perfectly. Stephen's halfway in, halfway out. His loyalty to Shannon is borderline diabolical. Another said, he went all in defending Jay-Z, no hesitation. But with Shannon, he fumbled the moment things got uncomfortable, and now he wants credit for changing his tone? Please. Everybody sees the switch up, and no matter how hard Stephen A. tries to rewrite the script, the internet's got the receipts. The double standard is loud, and fans aren't letting Stephen A. off the hook. The energy he had when defending Jay-Z was loud, passionate, and immediate. But when it came to Shannon, that energy was gone. It felt like Stephen already knew Shannon was getting dropped, and he was just getting ahead of it. But here's where the conversation shifts, because a lot of people feel like Shannon doesn't even need defending. Even if parts of this current lawsuit don't hold up, folks can't ignore the real facts. Shannon's a 54-year-old man who knowingly got involved with a 19-year-old. On top of that, the relationship reportedly involves some disturbing race-related role play. And for many people, that alone disqualifies him from being seen as any kind of victim. And now, it's not just one lawsuit. More women are allegedly coming forward, and the pattern is starting to raise serious concerns. According to the U.S. Sun, Shannon's ex-girlfriend Michelle Evans filed a completely separate lawsuit with accusations that go back over a decade.
All I saw really was the interview with Stephen A. when he was speaking of it. And I was watching it very carefully, Killer.
Stephen A. said something about this already?
Yeah, because Stephen A., he didn't stand with Shannon Sharpe like he stood with Jay-Z. When he heard about Jay-Z, he said, the guy I know, this is not true. When it came to Shannon, he was like, I wasn't there.
Yo,
in a nutshell, yeah.
Give it a stat, you know what I'm saying? Because he wasn't there for Jay-Z neither. You wasn't there for Jay-Z. You were not there for Jay-Z, but you went out on a limb because of the character of guy you know. So I'm not saying that you're wrong for that. I'm saying I would have thought that the same standard would be there, right? If for a guy you work with every day.
In her lawsuit filed in late 2023, Evans made disturbing claims about something that allegedly happened in 2010. She said they were in a long-term relationship, nearly 10 years, but things hit a breaking point after she confronted him about cheating. That's when, according to her, things turned dark. Evans claims Shannon threatened to ruin her if she ever went public. Then, during the argument, she alleges Shannon became aggressive and forced her into a humiliating and deeply violating situation. Her statement in the filing reads, "He proceeded to forcefully subdue me, compelling me to my knees, and subsequently engaging in non-consensual oral activity. Despite my protests, he persisted, consumed by fear and the perplexing nature of his actions." The lawsuit paints a chilling picture. And now that these claims are public, people are asking tough questions. The narrative around Shannon is shifting, and it's no longer just about Stephen A.'s loyalty. It's about what Shannon may have been hiding all along. According to Michelle Evans, the situation turned even darker. She said she was terrified that fighting back would only make things worse. In her lawsuit, she alleges that Shannon's coercion escalated. He forced her onto the bed and proceeded with non-consensual intercourse. All the while, he allegedly said something chilling, that he was going to make sure no other man would want her again. Evans claims that after the incident, Shannon threatened her into silence. She says he warned her that he had powerful connections and would use everyone he knew to destroy her if she ever spoke out. That's when Evans decided to file a restraining order against him, while he was still working at CBS Sports.
Right, and once you reached a certain stature, it's like the old folks always used to tell you, boy, don't let that money go to your head, right? And now, a lot of times, people just are who they are. And you're looking at Shannon, his brand has never really been anything that said he might not be into some of the things that we're learning, right? You could go back to the IG Live, or you could listen to some of the things that he promotes as sponsors of his show, or just certain ways he talks about women during nightcap or whatever it is, right? Like, Unc ain't never hid that.
In the legal documents, Evans alleged that Shannon wouldn't leave her alone. She said he would constantly call her with threats, stalk her, and even claim over the phone that he was watching her. The fear was so real that she had to get law enforcement involved. Once news of the restraining order and the allegations hit in 2010, Shannon abruptly announced he was stepping away from his CBS show. But instead of the story gaining traction, it seemed to vanish overnight. The controversy was quietly swept under the rug, and Shannon's career, it kept moving up. Now, years later, Evans is suing Shannon again. this time for defamation. She says he referenced their past legal battle on air and in public spaces, causing her emotional distress and damaging her name. Evans isn't staying silent anymore. She's publicly supporting Gabriela Zinga, the OnlyFans model currently suing Shannon, and says Shannon intentionally exposed Gabriela's identity to mess with her credibility. She told the U.S. Sun, "I want people to understand what Shannon did to this woman by doxing her, by putting out her name, by putting out her OnlyFans account. She's not holding back." And with more voices coming forward, the cracks in Shannon's image are starting to show.
It sounds like a setup. But if you sit back and look at the overall situation, you say this ain't no setup. This is a who been in the league and been amongst elite blacks and white people for most of his life. He live in a white community. He been around white people for over 30 years. Boy got a thing for white. He like young white. He really want a 17-year-old, but he can't. He an 18-year-old or 20-year-old. So here it is, he at the gym working out. He's showing up at the gym with them big old black legs, that big old print showing in them sweatpants, squatting, sweating out his ass with them big old muscles. Now here it is, this little white girl over there on the treadmill. They making eye contact. Who set that up? Who put her there? Who put him there? And who knew they was gonna be attracted to each other to start? Who set that up? Now, if you watch his interview and you sit back and listen to him and Ocho Cinco talk, and he talk about what he do and what he don't do, well, you see he a weenie with the women. He really mean to women. You sit back, man, I don't do this, I don't do, nah, man, you mean to women. You ain't no Matt. You don't even know how to sweet talk women. So you see, he really a weenie to women. He just got a big old black with the big old muscle. But he's not a charming man. You see, man, he mean, authoritative, and he regimented. No, he's not appealing. So the white girl just playing off the big black. He ain't handsome. He ain't the handsomest big black in the world, and he look like a gorilla. Big black gorilla, silverback. And he mean. So she figures she getting this big black, but in the process of getting this big old black, he mean. I'm gonna choke you when I see you tomorrow. Man, that's all. Yeah, this is baby. You trying to. So she don't want to be treated like a grown woman. She just wants this big old black and let her be irresponsible. He trying to make her responsible and all that other. So now ain't nobody set that up, man. Yeah.
What Shannon did to that woman wasn't just wrong. It was dangerous. People are saying she's now at risk because of the way he exposed her identity. And because of all that, fans aren't rallying behind Shannon like he might have hoped. In fact, they're calling out what looks like a long-running pattern of disturbing behavior. On social media, people are straight up labeling Shannon a weirdo, and even voices from the sports world are starting to weigh in. Former NFL player and ESPN analyst Ryan Clark said the behavior Shannon's been accused of lines up perfectly with the image he's built: flashy, ego-driven, and often reckless. Charleston White also chimed in, and he wasn't pulling punches. He said folks need to stop acting like Shannon was set up, because according to him, Shannon set himself up by messing around with a woman young enough to be his granddaughter. That quote alone got people buzzing. And now, new footage is starting to surface, clips that paint an even messier picture. One video going viral shows Shannon losing his temper live on his own podcast. It happened on the April 30th episode of Nightcap with co-host Chad Ochocinco Johnson and guest Joe Johnson. They were casually discussing the 2025 NFL Draft when suddenly, Shannon looked off camera and snapped, yelling, "Shut the F up." The moment caught everyone off guard. People are saying it's another red flag, another sign that Shannon's polished image has been hiding a whole different side. And now, that side's starting to come out in full view. That viral clip of Shannon snapping.
Guess what the two teams that call me, Ocho, say, what's your phone number, where you gonna be?
Who that?
It blew up fast, and it's only added more fuel to the convo about his emotional state and long-rumored anger issues. With everything that's come out since the lawsuit hit, one thing's clear: the public is not feeling sympathetic. People are saying Shannon made his choices, and now he's got to deal with the fallout. But while Shannon's getting dragged, Stephen A. Smith is catching heat too. And not for defending him, but for doing the most. Fans are calling Stephen A. a straight-up flip-flopper. One minute he's tossing shade, the next he's calling Shannon a friend. But what's really setting people off is how Stephen A. keeps amplifying the drama. It's like he's making sure the spotlight stays on Shannon's mess. Some folks even think Stephen is secretly enjoying the downfall, acting like he's offering support, while actually making things worse by refusing to let the story fade. Because let's be honest, if Stephen A. truly cared, he could have said, no comment, and left it at that. But nope. Instead, he took up a whole half hour of airtime talking about how Disney and ESPN don't play when it comes to bad press and image problems. One fan put it bluntly, Stephen A. is the type to run and tell the boss you were late just so he can get your seat. Natural-born snake. And another wrote, if Stephen A. really wants to help, the best thing he could do is shut up. All this talking isn't helping, it's just making it worse. So what do you think? Did Stephen A. switch up the second it got convenient? Is Mays right about those double standards and fake friend energy? Drop your thoughts below and stay locked in for what's coming next.